When ABC and the Walt Disney Company announced Jimmy Kimmel would return after a brief suspension that set off a nationwide backlash. Media critics, Hollywood unions, celebrities, and even some Republican leaders and Rand Paul condemned it as an attack on free speech. Online, fans threatened boycotts of Disney, Nexstar, and Sinclair stations, framing the decision as a dangerous precedent for political pressure on the media. Jess, what do you think of Disney's walking this decision back?
Brendan Carr really fucked up, huh? I mean, the need to run to get in front of a camera will always be the downfall of these Trump appointees and people in Trump's orbit. If he had just kept his mouth closed, he perhaps could have gotten away with it and found some other way to signal to, Sinclair and Nexstar what was being planned. But I think there's a good pro-democracy message laced in here, which is you are not powerless. And that has been the big concern since Trump came back into office. Like, what can we do? And you can cancel your subscription. Hey folks, this video is just a preview of the full episode, which you can tell it's only a few minutes long. That's available now on our very own Raging Moderates YouTube channel. We're so excited about the community that we're building over there. We'll be bringing you more of the content that you like. We're doing these rapid response videos too. Leave comments. We love it. We'll still obviously always have the Wednesday and Friday pod. You can click the pop-up link now or head over to youtube.com/@RagingModerates to subscribe. If you're one of those adults that wants a Disney wedding, you can cancel your $150,000 wedding. And guess what? They're going to pay attention to that. I also think, it's a very bad day for those folks who were arguing that this was just a straight up business decision, because it's very clear that that is not the case, and that Brendan Carr played such an important role in pulling Jimmy Kimmel off air and then getting him back on air. So net, good day for democracy, good day for the First Amendment. A lot of pressure on Jimmy Kimmel, though. It'll be interesting to see, what he has in his monologue. And when we recorded that rapid response video, organic plug for our YouTube, please subscribe to the Raging Moderates YouTube channel, because Scott and I are posting there all the time. I said, what's been nice about this is it's really felt like a grassroots movement. I think that letter that the ACLU organized with over 400 artists and entertainers, actors, et cetera, that signed on, Meryl Streep, Tom Hanks, Selena Gomez, et cetera, made a big impact. And things like Zohran Mamdani saying that he wouldn't participate in a town hall that would be televised on ABC because ABC doesn't support the First Amendment. People hear about those things and they take stock of it. And ABC has already capitulated to Trump once in paying the settlement over George Stephanopoulos. And hopefully this is the start of, saying, I'm not so fast, I'm not going to bend the knee that easily. What's your updated thinking?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by corporate communications. And corporate communications has been one of the greatest ROIs for corporate America. And that is they are spending money on AI, obviously increasing money, on direct-to-consumer technologies, what have you. But the greatest increase on a percentage level across corporate America has been in corporate comms. And that is they recognize that increasingly companies used to, a stock that was in the steel sector or in the weapon sector or in the technology sector would trade within a fairly narrow bound of a multiple in EBITDA. And who traded at the high end usually had better positioning, better brands, and a CEO who's a little bit more charismatic. Now the band of the multiple on EBITDA or earnings is so dramatic. And much of it is about the storytelling capabilities of the CEO. Amazon was essentially a company built on a story. And that is, if you read Amazon's or Jeff Bezos' 1997 letter to shareholders, you just wanted to go out and buy stock, and you did, which gave them access to such incredibly cheap capital. They could buy more planes, build more warehouses, hire more logistics people, and get you basically anything in the world for free with Amazon Prime within 48 hours. And no one else had the capital to go to war with Amazon, and they just kind of blew everyone out of the water. So your storytelling capabilities here have become incredibly powerful. And so corporate communications departments have been just booming and hiring more people. It's all about the story. And then when Alexander Karp, is that his name? The CEO of Palantir does this really innovative thing where he walks around his office doing the earnings call live on Instagram. Everyone's like, wow, this company is so innovative. And the company trades at 100 times revenues, which makes absolutely no sense. And also, Elon Musk commands $1 to $3 billion in earned media by just being crazy and being on Twitter all the time, and has a huge advantage versus General Motors. And no one really cares what Mary Barra says or threads or tweets. So Tesla gets all this incredible free advertising because of, in some ways, storytelling or just having a blowhorn. So this press release from Disney, it can go wrong, though. And this press release I would describe is being gangbanged by what must have been 24 crisis management experts who were parsing every word and ended up with a press release that was milquetoast and totally disingenuous. They said, after discussions with Jimmy Kimmel, we further understand, we decided to bring him back. They don't give a flying fuck what Jimmy Kimmel thought. I mean, what, they didn't think to do this before they fired him? And then they'd also said that because of some ill-timed and insensitive comments, they decided to bring the show. Ill-timed and insensitive, we have said, I don't think there is a progressive media personality or even a conservative comedian who hasn't said things much more, quote unquote, insensitive. And here's the thing. You don't need a First Amendment when people say things slightly insensitive. You need a First Amendment when people say really stupid, provocative, angry shit. There are some limits. You can't incite violence. You can't spread lies about somebody that hurt their economic livelihood. That's defamation. But other than that, a hallmark of a free society is you can pretty much say anything about pretty much anyone at pretty much any time. And so the infraction here of not even a speeding ticket and then firing him and then pretending that after speaking to him and that these were ill-timed comments, they continue to lie. This is the bottom line. This is about money, full stop. And that is, they recognize, someone called and said, our site is crashing because so many people are trying to cancel Hulu, ESPN, and Disney+. We are getting calls from our cruise line saying people are canceling. We just heard from, Zendaya, that her agent is worried that she should pull out of a movie because of what is going on here. And they got together and said, oh, it's costing money. Let's backtrack. This is a prime example of how societies continue a downward spiral into fascism. They have a strong man, and this isn't the first time Bob Iger has really fucked up. He's the one who initially started this bullshit by settling with, over the whole George Stephanopoulos, settling with Trump. When you think the alligators around you, and if you just cut off a finger and give it to them, be clear, they're going to come back for the arm. And so they started this. They were the first ones. They could have been the front lines and said no and sent a signal. And just FYI, Jess, I'm going to buy $10 million in equity and then be the beneficial owner of another $10 million in Disney stock, file a 13D to replace the entire board and fire Bob Iger, who has shown that he is not only a terrible fiduciary for all Americans, has no fidelity to the principles that have made him a billionaire so he could walk around in cashmere sweaters and go to the Oscars, but he should be fired. They fired the wrong guy. Any one of these things you could say, all right, he made a mistake. This guy is clearly, the 73-year-old Bob Iger clearly doesn't understand the atmosphere in. Let's ignore the fact that he is a terrible American. Bob Iger, you are a terrible American. You have turned your back on the ideals and the principles that have made you a fucking billionaire and have given you an extraordinary life. But in addition to that, he clearly has lost all ability to read the room and read the culture and understand new technology and new platforms and what it means to be in the business of media. I can't think of a CEO in the Fortune 500 that is more ripe to be fired. So one person gets their job back, the next. There absolutely is someone at Disney right now that should be canceled. and it should be the CEO, and also there should be more scrutiny on the board. A board is there to save the CEO from him or herself, to go, this could be really bad for us. And instead, they were listening entirely to what they thought were their consumers, and that is the broadcast station Sinclair and Nexstar, who distribute Jimmy Kimmel across local TV stations. But this indicates to me that Bob Iger absolutely needs to go. A terrible American, a terrible fiduciary for shareholders, and someone whose judgment, that expiration date, has clearly passed. Your thoughts?
Made a pretty clear case there. I wonder if there'll be some scrutiny of Dana Walden as well, who I think is the one that has really the close relationship with Kimmel and was the one who went and met with him right after the Brendan Carr comments, et cetera. But I'm sure, and I don't know Bob Iger personally, but he's been rumored to have pretty thin skin, and seeing Michael Eisner, the ex-CEO of Disney, coming after him and saying, what a capitulation. How could you possibly do something like this? Really stung. I'm curious to get your take on the fact that Sinclair is saying that they are not going to start airing Jimmy Kimmel again. They're in charge of 31 of the affiliates, right, that would normally air it. When they took Jimmy off air last week, they aired a Charlie Kirk kind of documentary that made him out to be a prophet. The CEO of Sinclair donated $250,000 to Turning Point, and I believe is waiting on Kimmel's donation, which I imagine is not coming. I could see a world in which Kimmel makes a donation to a cause in Charlie Kirk's memory or something like that, but I assume that he's not going to just say, oh, yeah, you said jump, I say how high, and now I'm going to give, gobs of money to an organization just because you said so. Versus it's something that I really believe in. What do you think the future is of the deal that actually set all of this off? Because, Brendan Carr was speaking on Monday at the Concordia Summit and tried to backtrack and say, I wasn't, right out of Goodfellas, as Ted Cruz put it. I was just saying that the hard way is when you have to actually lodge an FCC complaint. Everyone sees through it. Donald Trump sees through it, I'm sure, as well, and knows exactly what's going on here. But do you think the merger will still go through, or what are the kind of business implications of Sinclair saying we're not going to be airing Kimmel?